Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Winners in Business podcast, sponsored by Beachfront Custom Development and Impact Business Marketing. I'm your host, Andrew Rosenblum. Our guest today is Dhruv Chandra, a distinguished technology and cybersecurity leader. He's led technology initiatives across industries and is currently the executive consultant and managing director of cybersecurity and GRC at the Canadian insurance firm Intact. Dhruv shares his journey from developer to executive, explores unique challenges he's tackled, and discusses cutting-edge technologies ready to reshape finance and healthcare. We'll also discuss his strategies for driving transformational change. Let's jump in. But I'd love to hear about your journey in your own words, so why don't you take it away?
Yeah, primary professional, as I said, we started with a conversation about creative truth. And I can talk about my journey. I've been relatively successful, not too successful. And I can say easily that my successes are completely based on me, but I can't say that because I was born in the right environment. I had the right sort of education. I was fortunate enough to meet the right set of people, and hence I got successful. And I have the right attributes to begin with. But I can't say that all of that was dependent on me. Actually, very little was dependent on me. The journey took me where it had to take me, and I am where I am. And I'm trying to do the best I can to deliver the right sort of function, purpose, and work within this ecosystem of sorts. But from a career transition point of view, I started my journey as a technologist, as a developer, a coder per se, at that point of time. Then quickly moved into networking technologies because I like tinkering and connecting things. Like maybe for boys at a young age, when they get a job, they still want to do Lego. And networking was a sort of a Lego setup for me, connecting different devices, different peripherals, different technologies, making them communicate with each other. That was where my journey took me. And that very quickly transformed into security, because at that point of time, about 20 years ago, security was a big thing. But when you connected a couple of things together, you realize certain things worked and certain things did not. And sometimes when they did not work was because some default security protections they had, rudimentary at that point of time, but that's what they did. Understanding that helped me move into the security field. And then soon after, when I moved into security field, the world opened up quite significantly. Started working for some large financial institutions in the country. And as the journey progressed further, I realized that security is even bigger of an aspect in the cloud world, which took me into the cloud security world, allowed me to move from different financial organizations to Google. At Google, I learned quite a lot of things. I also learned that regardless of companies, whether they are small, big, huge, massive, they have their own nuances and challenges. No matter how you look at it, because generally people outside certain organizations believe that certain organizations are better than the other. The basic concept that the grass is greener on the other side. Yes, some patches are certainly greener, but others could be, pale and dry. Mm-hmm. And from Google, I moved to a small company as a chief technology officer. That was a great journey. It didn't work out really well because I realized that suddenly when you move to an executive position, your focus changes from tinkering with tools and technologies and toys and moves towards creating an impression and opinion and marketing for the world to see, for investors or financial advisors to see. So that focus changes from pure technology to how the world perceives your organization and what is perceived you are doing versus what you really are doing. Example, we talk about AI all the time. You know how many CEOs talk about AI all the time? Almost all of them as of today. But how many understand AI? That's a bigger question. Mm-hmm. So it's a hype that drives larger businesses. but not the needle that is moved when people are actually tinkering with tools and technologies. This is what I learned. So when I realized that I had bitten more than I could chew, when I realized that it's not a place for me, I moved back into the financial world, Intact, one of the largest insurance companies in Canada. And it's been good 4 weeks, and I'm back into tinkering mode, and I'm really enjoying the whole journey again, getting my fingers dirty, interacting with the right sort of people, building communication and bridges within different disparate teams. And I am in a much, much better and happy place. But that is what sums up my career journey. Started off with a developer, networking technologist, security technologist, app and Kubernetes, and then finally back into this space again.
Well, I mean, I think you're being a little bit too modest when you say you haven't been too successful. I mean, when you look at what you've done for organizations, it's been really awesome. And, just transitioning to your current company, I'm curious about, who does Intact serve? Like, who are your best customers? What problems do you solve for them? And what really makes your approach different?
Well, as I said, it's 4 weeks, so that's a pretty loaded question. What Intact does, it does B2B insurance. It also has a small arm called Bel Air Direct, which does B2C insurance, and it's one of the largest in Canada, and it provides support to other ancillaries and health-related companies. Yeah, how's my approach any different? Well, I think when somebody new joins any organization, it's easy to be critical. You can see things very differently because you're brand new. You're not burdened by 1,700 things that you have to do day to day. The longer I stay in the organization, that will happen to me. That happens to everybody. You start focusing, you buy a new house, you look at big things, but the longer you stay in the house, you start realizing that, well, certain corners don't really connect at 90 degrees. They connect at 92.5 degrees. That starts troubling you. You start focusing on little nuances over a period of time, which become burdening, and you don't see the bigger picture. So right now, I'm assessing what is going on within the organization and improve certain processes, but that at no point of time is a finger or pointer to people who have existed there for a long period of time, because they started off with the right approach. And as the time went by, more and more things were thrown at them. So of course, they continue to lose focus on the bigger picture and other nuances because they have to do their daily work. So right now, I'm in the assessment phase. And because I'm in the assessment phase, I see certain glaring gaps, which will be fixed over a period of time. And the organization has some brilliant people, and I'm working for one of the most brilliant execs that I've worked for previously in my life in multiple banks, and he has been a huge mentor, and he drives business really well. So I think successes will follow soon after.
Well, when you go into a new company, and I know previously, you've served as a CTO and CPO at the same company, and they had recently acquired, 17 other organizations?
Yes, they had acquired a good 17, 18 organizations in a period of 2 years.
So when you come into a new organization, how do you actually start evaluating, like, which of these legacy platforms do we keep? What tech decisions do we make going forward? Like, how do you actually get into the nitty gritty of reconciling all the different technologies of those organizations and making sure it aligns with your current company's vision?
It's both an art and science, because science doesn't give you all the values that you're looking for, all the attributes that you would take, synthesize, and figure out what to exist versus what not to. There are biases also. Example, let's say you're using two cloud service providers, and I'm not going to name names, but let's say you're using cloud service provider A, cloud service provider B. Let's say cloud service provider A is the better one versus the cloud service provider B, which is slightly lower. But the subject matter expertise in your house is focused on cloud B, which is slightly lower. At which point of time, what do? Should you focus on cloud A, which provides you greater capabilities, get greater functional set, but very little talent in-house? Or should you choose B because the talent in-house is capable of delivering something brilliant and beautiful within that cloud space, cloud B space? And that's why it's not just science where you take all the attributes and you synthesize and you say that I'm going to select this versus that versus that. You have to pick and choose based on both technology, both the cultural aspect of the organization, integration capabilities of the organization, and then you come up with some kind of a formula or solution. But prior to that, you also have to do a full inventory and asset assessment, which takes a long time because a lot of times certain things are documented. A lot of times they are not documented. Certain times technologies exist in what we call the shadow IT world, which is even more difficult to extract because you don't know what you don't know. But all large banks anywhere in the world which that have grown over a period of time would have shadow IT. And extracting that information out takes the longest amount of time. Whatever is documented is easy to capture, right? What is not becomes the complication. And some people will not allow you to get to that because the business seems to work. And technologists become a burden of sorts, right? So I understand both sides of the world, the technology side as well as the business side, right? And a good technologist should understand both sides.
Well, then when you are interfacing with other executives, how do you help them see the value and the vision behind your crazy technologist schemes and actually get them to buy into what you're proposing?
The first thing is that the work should be two ways, not just one way. I'm not trying to convince them. I'm trying to understand what they are saying. Sometimes I'm able to convince them. Sometimes they are able to convince me, saying, Dhruv, well, you don't understand this, but if we implement such technology or tool between our stock trading app, the increase in latency by few milliseconds will affect our dollar value exchange rate. As a technologist, I don't know that. I wanted the most protected. I want the most capable technology. And the business tells me, continue reducing the tech stack so that the latency is reduced further and further, so that when from New York, we are making a stock exchange somewhere in Japan, the latency is so low that yen and dollar fluctuation is not that huge, because that could affect your profitability, right? So coming back to your question, I'm not trying to convince all the execs as to why that certain technology is used. It is a bi-directional conversation. Sometimes the technology gets her or his way out. Sometimes the business does, but that healthy tension is needed. And I think the challenge in today's world is the technologists think that they are the center of the universe. The business, on the other hand, thinks that they are the center of the universe. Democratization, as we call it, the big word. But the fact remains that you have to work both sides. You have to understand both sides of the story to do good delivery and to really provide value to your clients and make the business profitable. It shouldn't be one or the other. And I have known technologists and business execs who think only in one side of the world, right? Which complicates things.
When you were speaking before about how all the CEOs are talking about AI and whatnot, so I'm curious from your perspective, can you speak to some of the prominent trends in technology or AI that are going to significantly impact the finance sector?
I can talk about a lot. My previous company was health, but from a finance point, fraud detection is huge. And fraud detection is becoming a big thing. Gen AI is becoming a big thing, and the reason why I say it is that a lot of times you have to provide reports or you have to provide forms for existing clients or new clients. And form management is a huge challenge in any organization. Large banks have multiple departments, but interestingly enough, they don't share forms with each other. So if Dhruv needs to open a wealth management account in the same bank, the forms, although have duplicate information, where you live, how old are you, what is your yearly income, etc., etc., etc. And if I want to open another account, which is a savings account, the forms may have a lot of similar attributes, but they are not overlaid. So you have to do a lot of duplication. Gen AI is capable of understanding what already exists and formulate a form which only captures the missing gaps, rather than sending you 300-page documents, say, please sign here, here, here. I said, but why? I've already done that 13 times. I'm almost 50 years old. I now have 17 accounts in your bank. I'm sure I have filled this information somewhere. Why am I filling it for the next time when I'm asking for a change in certain services and class?
Right.
Why am I filling the same thing again? And that annoys all our customers, all our clients.
Annoys me.
So these kind of things, chatbots, they are going to be more and more important. And I think gleaning or inferencing information, because banks have a lot of data, but somehow they are siloed and in bits and pieces. Amalgamating that data will give you better insights on a customer. Not only that, it'll also give you a better insight on the health of a subset of customers. Like between 18 to 25, are people spending more or spending less? That's basic. Where are they spending? You can actually glean that information off existing capabilities that you have, and then infer other things that no human is capable of inferencing. So I think that is what is happening in the world. Customized solution for individuals, like what we call customized medicines for individuals. When you have greater attribute sets of individuals, the prescription you give them is very directed to them and their attribute sets, rather than a generic medication. Because Andrew's weight is different than Dhruv's weight. Andrew's age is different than Dhruv's age. The genetic markups are different. Why is it that if Dhruv has a headache and Andrew has a headache, they are both given ibuprofen? Why? And of the same strength. Why the same strength? There should be
lack of diagnostic capability at that level.
Yes. So nuanced understanding of the client or health markers or spending habits will allow the businesses to give a more customized value to that client or that customer. That is what AI is going to do. And that is where the organizations are going. That's where they are moving. Now, you can also talk about security, where large amounts of sorts of data can't be processed by individuals. So AI is leveraged. We mentioned fraud detection a little early on. Cybersecurity attacks, they happen all the time. You put 40 people in front of a TV screen, large TV screen, to see where things are going wrong. You only have eyes and you continue blinking, and the amount of alerts that come in are 50,000 per second. How does anybody see it? Yes, you can draw graphs and stuff, but you don't capture the nuances. You have to have something that can automatically process that and fix those gaps or security concerns on the fly. Otherwise, you're dead in the water. And people on the other side, the darker side of the net and the cybersecurity, they are leveraging AI to attack all the time. So AI will help us in so many ways, helping customers, helping with nuanced approach for each client and customer, helping security, helping fraud detection, protecting people's money and privacy, of course.
So as it relates to Intact, how are you currently leveraging technology in order to create that sort of experience that you're describing and provide more value for clients and profit for the business?
Well, as I said, I'm just 4 weeks old. I haven't figured that out yet, but because I know the CIO who's driving technology changes is probably one of the most brilliant guys. He's He's 100 times more brilliant than a lot of other people I've known in my life. I'm sure he'll figure out the right way if he's not already figured out. So I think I need a little more time before I start commenting on things, how Intact is any different. But it's a successful organization. It has never been breached. I'm keeping my fingers crossed because of brilliant set of people. And I can't provide any additional information on that.
Well, what you described before was already very enlightening. Just giving me this rundown of how AI can upend, little parts of the world that I never really thought about, like form management. So, I mean, that's fascinating, and I'm excited to see what happens next at your organization. But I know about you. You're a voracious reader, and I think when we spoke in the past one time, you told me that ultimately what you'd like to do is open a coffee shop and sell cortado and talk to interesting people.
Yeah.
So if you could have two interesting people, one alive and one dead, who would you sell coffee to and have a conversation with?
One alive, one dead. God. Alive, I think I would like to drink coffee with everybody. Because putting a pin on an individual, saying that this individual is somebody I would like the most, is like saying that watercolor is better than acrylic or oil paints. They both have their own attributes. Every individual has her or his own attribute. For people who are dead, wow, there are lots. There's so many, and I can use names which are rather well known, like Mahatma Gandhi, who was a kind human being. Somebody who I have not been a perfect human being. I'm almost 50. I've not been a perfect human being all my life. And if you talk to my parents, they said, "Oh my God, what a character!" They're lovely parents, and we get along famously well. But it'll be difficult. Like Mahatma Gandhi was a nice individual, genuine, kind, and I have screwed up a lot of times. I wish I was a kinder human being. And as I have aged, I have become much more kinder. But then there are others that I would love to talk about, but we leave that aside. Because some of them would be controversial. But I think we have to be seeds, and every human being or individual who has existed in the past would have had good qualities and bad qualities. As a sieve, you should be capable enough of extracting just the good qualities. Gautam Buddha, as you call it, Buddha, great individual. Some brilliant, kind individuals, and I try to move towards the element of kindness, although the world does not believe so. It says you have to be kind. It expects you to be a little assertive. Otherwise, you're not moving, right? You know how that balance works.
I'm figuring it out.
Yeah, and as you get older, you'll figure it out further.
Mm-hmm. Well, this has been so interesting, and I guess I'd like to cap this off by just asking you. So you started off as a developer, a tinkerer, and then now you find yourself as somebody who's brought into organizations to triage a large number of problems and strategize and figure out the best way forward. So let's say for more junior professionals in their lives, or just entrepreneurs or professionals looking to get to the next level in their career, what advice would you give them to be an effective executive like yourself?
We are in the middle of the ocean, and you're thrown around, and the path is developed over a period of time, and you have certain attributes and capabilities, and you latch on to certain paths. With the folks who are just going onto this journey, I would only suggest that do what you do well, and do it well and happily, because at some point of time, somebody will take a chance on you if you're doing it well. But if your focus is to get to the next level, that changes the dynamics, that changes the game. Because you have suddenly realized that instead of focusing on what you do best, whatever that best is, if you're a great carpenter, connecting finger joints between two pieces of wood, that's one thing. But if your intent is that from a carpenter, I want to be a king, your opinions change over doing something really well, but focused on something which is more future looking, which may or may not happen because of so many reasons, because of your own reason, because of external factors. So do what you do well and continue doing it. The story goes that you continue drawing cats yet again. There's a Japanese story. Maybe if the readers or viewers want to search for it, just say draw cats, Japanese story, and it'll give you that story. But do whatever you do it really well. Somebody will take a chance on you. You will shine through that expertise. People will notice, and the next levels will come automatically rather than you trying to achieve them. That has always worked.
I mean, and I guess that's really all you can do.
Yes. That's all you can do.
So, Dhruv, I know that you provide some consulting for organizations. You're obviously a very effective professional, and I'd love to give our listeners a way to reach out to you if they're ever looking for consulting, or if there might be some business opportunities in the future. So, for our listeners, what's a good way to reach out to you?
I think LinkedIn would be the best.
We'll make sure to put that in the show notes so any of our listeners can dive into that and reach out to you if it makes sense. But again, Dhruv, it's been wonderful having you on the show. I'd love to do this again if you'd be open to it.
Sure, absolutely. We can certainly work that out.
Maybe we can do it over Cortado. I've never had it before.
Yeah, Cortado. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, please. I'll let you get back to it, Dhruv. You take care.
You take care. Thank you so much, Andrew.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Today, Dhruv discussed his career journey from hands-on developer to technology executive. He explored AI's transformative role in finance, particularly in improving fraud detection, personalized customer experiences, and operational efficiency. He also emphasized the need for collaborative decision-making between technologists and business executives. And lastly, his advice for professionals looking to take their career to the next level is focus on being excellent at what you do now, and someone will take a chance on you. That's all for now. Thanks for tuning in to the Winners in Business podcast, sponsored by Beachfront Custom Development and Impact Business Marketing. See you next time.